What's up guys, my name is David and welcome back to Basically Star Wars, and today I'm going to be hopping on a trend that I am way too late for. Tier lists have been popular on YouTube for what feels like years at this point, and today I cannot believe I have not done a Star Wars character tier list yet, but they seem to be popular now, so here I am. I cut out the middleman. I'm not going to have you watch me do it because I need to sit and think about, the positions, so I already have the tier list made. I'm just going to go over it right now. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to leave the link to the tier list I use. I did not put some characters on here just because it says important characters, but some of them just literally are useless characters, so I don't feel like ranking them. Out of the ones that I did care to rank, the only character in F tier is, of course, Jar Jar. I don't need to explain why Jar Jar is an F tier. He's Jar Jar. Now, already coming in with a hot take, the lowest character in D tier is Mace Windu. My dislike for Mace Windu is very trivial. There's nothing wrong with his character. The way George Lucas wrote him is the way he wrote him. That's to be a very overly annoying Jedi that kind of embodies everything wrong with the Jedi Order at that point, and that's the reason I hate him. He's egotistical. He's a champion of Jedi being warriors instead of peacekeepers. He has a childish vendetta against Anakin Skywalker simply because this little kid is supposed to be better than him, and he can't have that. So wrapped up with this military and order mindset, he's rude to Ahsoka, and if he was not rude, he could have prevented Order 66. Once again, these aren't plot holes or anything. This is how his character is supposed to be, and I hate his character. Next is General Hux. He's fine in Force Awakens, but way too whiny in Last Jedi, and in Episode 9, he's just a joke. I put Chopper in D tier just because I don't care about him. Jango Fett is just there to be Jango Fett. Now we get into the bottom tier of the sequel characters. That's Rose Tico, Finn, and Poe. I will never ever hate Rose the way some people hate Rose, but yeah, she's just kind of annoying and pointless, and she has too much sappy dialogue. Finn is the definition of wasted potential, and Poe is just there. He's just there to look good, shoot stuff, and make one-liners. That's not a character. Going into C tier, I'm just going to run through some characters that I have nothing against. They're just kind of there, and I have no real attachment to them. That's why they're in C tier. That is Bo-Katan, Bail Organa, General Grievous, Agent Kallus, Zeb, and Hera. Once again, nothing wrong with those characters, just not for me, don't really care about them. Now going into the Rogue One crew, we have Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, and K2SO, K2SO being the standout there. My biggest problem with Rogue One are the characters, and that's why the characters are in C tier. Next we have Snoke. He looks cool, but doesn't do that much. I feel like he does his job in Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and then in Rise of Skywalker, it's just all a joke. I'm not sure if this is controversial, but we have C-3PO in C tier. He's fine. Obviously iconic, but I'm not going to put him in B tier because I feel like that's the characters that I really like. Going off what we know, Boba Fett is simply there to look cool. I know other stories, he has other lore and other adventures, but I'm going simply off what is currently canon. He doesn't do much. BB-8 is one of the most charismatic droids. There's something inanimate, he's strangely adorable. And to finish off C tier, we have Padme. She's just Padme. Now going into B tier, these are characters that I really like. Sabine is a great and very underrated character, and her arc in the Trials for the Darksaber arc in Rebels, fantastic. Ezra is an everyman Jedi, and I love that about him. He's very relatable. His struggles can be our struggles. He's very relatable in that way and definitely underrated, and he's a young Jedi. He's a young Jedi who's, yes, bratty, but also heroic and just a good character. R2-D2, he's awesome, he's iconic, he's adorable in some ways, but he's just R2-D2. He's not like a fantastic character. The next couple ones aren't in an exact order. I kind of like them all the same. We have Rex, Chewbacca, Lando, Wicket the Ewok, and Krennic. I feel like the other ones are self-explanatory, but the reason I like Wicket so much is simply nostalgia. Next, we have a true intimidating military force that keeps Vader in check. Lord Vader responds to this guy, and that's Tarkin, of course. I have the original trilogy Emperor in B tier just because I feel like he's just a bit cartoony, but the reason he is in B tier at all is because his whole idea and conflict between Luke and Vader is very well executed. I don't think it's really because he's a great villain. I think it's just more the direction and the scene. Him sitting there isn't that cool, but his idea, but more the execution of the idea makes it cool. But he's Palpatine, so I'm going to put him in B tier. Kanan, the Jedi of all Jedis. He is such an underrated Jedi. He's very much like Qui-Gon in some ways. Everything he does is in the will of the Force. He has such a strong and good moral compass. His cause is noble, and he's just a good person and a good Jedi, and that's a reminder of what the Jedi should be. Pre Vizsla is so underrated. Every episode that he is in the Clone Wars is top tier. On the same note as Mandalorians, we have The Mandalorian. He's your average hero but with a heart and a good moral compass, and his whole story and journey is very compelling. I love the show The Mandalorian, and that's partially because our main character is really solid. Now going into A tier, we have Yoda. I know the picture is prequel Yoda, but I'm just going to assume it's Yoda as a whole. There's really not much to say about Yoda. I mean, he's just Yoda. Come on, he absolutely deserves A tier. He probably deserves S tier. In the same vein as Yoda, characters that really don't need explanation for being an A tier, we have Leia. Prequel Palpatine, I put in A tier because I like him a whole lot more than OT Palpatine. This Palpatine is like Thrawn. He is a planner. He is patient, he is calculating, he's evil, he's sinister, he has a great presence, he has everybody fooled. He is a true villain and I love it, and it takes him seriously. It's showing how this one guy who's pretending to be a politician can just completely destroy the Galactic Republic. And one of my more controversial takes, we have Rey at the top of A tier. She has problems, looking at the entire trilogy, but just because I like these two movies, looking at Force Awakens and Last Jedi, I can't help but love her character in those movies. Is she overpowered? Yes. Does she have a cohesive story arc? Absolutely not. But despite those flaws, do I still love the character of Rey in Force Awakens and Last Jedi? Absolutely. Next, moving into the kings and the queen of Star Wars, we have the S tier, starting off with Han Solo. Do I need to explain why Han Solo is an S tier? No, he is Han Solo. Next, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's charming. He is such a charming character. He's so much fun to watch on screen and in the Clone Wars. I'm looking at this as a whole. His character doesn't have much depth as of right now. I feel like the Obi-Wan show will really make him a very, very in-depth character. But for what he is a fun and charming character that I love, and I absolutely love these two iterations of him. And don't get me wrong, Alex Guinness is a legend, but come on, these two, those are my favorites. Now we have my favorite Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn is what the Jedi Order should be. He is a stoic guardian and keeper of the peace. He listens to the will of the Force instead of a council, and definitely not politicians. And to top it all off, he is right. If they listened to him, and of course if he didn't die, the galaxy would be in a such different state. He is a true Jedi and a true Guardian, making him one of my favorites. Next, we have Kylo Ren. I love Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and he is one of the best parts about those two movies. He is a very well done, young, conflicted villain, and a nice parallel to Anakin Skywalker, his grandfather. And even in The Rise of Skywalker, his character arc is completed. This is the thing in the sequel trilogy that is consistent, and for that alone, I love it. Can't wait to get more Kylo Ren content because he is such a cool character, and I wish he could have been around for longer so we could have seen him be a Jedi. Skywalker is an amazing character. It used to be my favorite character of all time. He has a great story arc in the original trilogy. I'm not going to get into Last Jedi because that's just a whole other can of worms. But there's just something so hopeful about him in the original trilogy, of course, and even in Last Jedi for me, but once again, whole other can of worms. In the same vein as Vader, Han Solo, Leia, do I really need to explain why they're amazing characters? Not really. They're just amazing and iconic characters. It's Luke Skywalker after all. Here we go. These are my top 3 favorite characters. This is going to solidify me as the prequel shill. Darth Maul, Ahsoka, and Anakin Skywalker. Darth Maul is a villain who was screwed over by both sides. He was used by Palpatine and rejected by the Jedi Order. He is a villain who wants pure destruction and comes from a place of anger and vulnerability. He is very engaging and very interesting, and just to think about the fact that he went from the cool guy in Episode 1 to now one of the most fleshed out and interesting villains in all of Star Wars, and my personal favorite villain in all of Star Wars. Now we get to Ahsoka. A character so hopeful and full of light, but then when something happens that questions her beliefs, she realizes that yeah, maybe the Jedi aren't on the right side of history. She's confident, she's powerful, and has a good sense of what's right and wrong, and is not afraid to make the difficult choice. It's of course hard for her to leave her master and her friends, but that's what she feels like she has to do, so she does it. Now my favorite character in Star Wars, her master, Anakin Skywalker. In some ways I consider Anakin and Vader different characters, but in some ways I don't, but looking at it as a whole, I consider Anakin one character, his full arc. Speaking of that arc, it is an incredible and timeless arc. Arc of a tragic hero. He's rising up to be great, but then fails, but then rises again because of his son. He is a tragic hero who wants to do good but just gets screwed over by this guy who's just better than him and has been planning this for a long time. He wants to save his mother, save his wife, but he can't, and when he thinks he can, he makes a choice to turn to the dark side, but then he loses anyways. He is trapped in this position for over 19 years, but then comes to the light side of the Force because of his son. And it's Anakin Skywalker, the main character of this entire story, the Skywalker saga, and his arc is so universal and so timeless that makes Star Wars something greater than just being some fun movies. His struggles, his fails, his redemption is something that we can all relate to in some ways. I love Anakin Skywalker so much. He's always been a childhood hero of mine, and on top of it, he is just so cool. There you guys have it. That is my tier list. This took longer than expected, so please give a like. That would be nice. If you guys enjoyed this video, then you most definitely will enjoy this channel, so please consider subscribing. That is all I got for you today, guys. I will see you in the next video, and the Force be with you.